Hey everyone, Dog here. Today I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and yes, I did soak my pants. Growing up with Sonic Adventure, Sonic 06, Shadow the Hedgehog, and being the kid that pretended my school's playground was a Sonic level, I have a hole in my heart that is reserved for Sonic content. And let me tell you, baby, that hole was filled today. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a love letter to that Sonic and Shadow relationship that I was obsessed with as a kid. Alongside Sonic Adventure 2, I no joke actually really like Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog. Those two masterpiece toilet fires were my introduction to the Sonic franchise and are what led me to Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic and Shadow are the bane of my Sonic knowledge and are what I live for most in the franchise. So seeing Shadow pull out a blicky on the big screen made me more than wet. It made me realize God does still deliver beauty in this world. I'm going to try and avoid spoilers as best as I can without getting giddy, which I think will be easy because this review on Sonic 3 really boils down to it's the most enjoyable in the franchise. I think it's going to be really hard for anyone to hate Sonic 3 despite the few flaws this film has, which I'll get into. But Sonic 3 does a lot of points right that it makes the problems of this film feel insignificant. Let's get into it. First, let's get the negative out of the way because there isn't really much. Throughout all the insanely talented action sequences and Shadow being a blessing to watch, there is a lot of filler and plot armor. I'm going to condense this into one point because overall, it just messes with the pacing of the story. It's mainly all in the second act of the film. The plot armor involves around an action happening because it needs to, and they just need to show you that it happens without really giving the characters the effort to do so. Or how some characters just need that screen time. Or how some things just happen for the sake of being funny. The moment that pops in my head the most is this part where Tom and Maddie need to help break into this highly protected building. And they get in because Maddie transformed into her sister and threatened to pick an attitude with the security guard. There's a lot of that, and it feels like wasted screen time. Most of it just felt cliche and didn't really fit with the story. Nothing with Jim Carrey though, I'll get into this, don't worry, he did a really good job. It's more just plot points that could have been done differently without the extra cliche plot armor humor. And I get Sonic is catered towards kids and a big demographic of this audience is children. As a professional children's movie critic, Sonic 3 could have honestly been a near perfect film if they stayed away from the amount of forced humor and plot armor and still played as a kids movie. It's just a lot of screen time that we don't really need to see, it doesn't really need to be there, and it takes a bit away from the story. Just a lot of goofy nonsense that doesn't really serve a point other than to advance the plot. And at that, when it happens, the plot seems like it fucking skips a few steps, like your Shadow literally skipping time. A conflict will happen, and they need a solution, and the solution just kind of comes out of thin air, like you skipped all the steps to it. Or the steps are, this character needs some screen time, let's give them a humorous solution. Onto the meat of this review, the positives that got me soaked. The first point being how hard Shadow carried the film. Anytime this small black and red dude is on the screen, I was on the verge of clapping my hands. It's like when a pilot successfully lands a plane. The creators of this movie did a perfect job giving Shadow the screen. He was gorgeous in every shot, the most entertaining to watch, and Keanu Reeves is one of the best casting decisions in years. Sonic 3 deserves a point for how well they respected Shadow. Literally, the first 30 minutes is one of the best opening sequences in the entire franchise, and arguably of 2024, and how they told Shadow's story with Maria was done perfectly. I mean, the filler in this movie felt worse because all I was waiting for was Shadow to come out with his blicky again and start doing his thing. Aside from how soaked I was during every Shadow scene, Sonic 3 deserves another point for the actions and visuals. Again, the best in the franchise. They show a lot that can get the most elderly of elders to have their arm hairs get static. Not just Shadow, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all have some really cool sequences and visuals that just are crazy to be witnessing. Even Jim Carrey had a few scenes where I was like, damn! Go hard, fat boy. I really like how they gave every character their chance to shine, even though there was cliche screen time that could have been used to expand these characters more. But in the end, I really didn't come out wishing I'd seen more of any of the characters because I felt like they all had their moment to stand out and do their thing. Which all plays into my final positive being that this film delivers tremendously. Thinking about the one negative I had, it really didn't bother me that much with how happy I was with the rest of the film. You get what you expect and more, and they give it to you perfectly. And seeing how far this franchise has come, you can tell the team behind the Sonic movies, especially Sonic 3, really do pour love into making these movies. It's a positive that I think deserves a point, because you don't really see this with video game movies. I really can't think of a video game besides the Sonic movies that I appreciate to this extent. The Sonic film franchise, and without a doubt Sonic 3, sets a standard for, there's no excuse, make it good, when transferring a video game to film. Before ending this review, I want to go over some notable points that aren't really full positives, but should be factored in. First, the music they choose for some of the sequences is hype. They did a really good job with the song selection and score in general, and I think it deserves some recognition. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but but they played Live and Learn, and I started to bounce in my seat like a hyperactive 5-year-old. Another notable point is Jim Carrey's performance. For all the cliche filler plot armor and humor, there was a Jim Carrey scene that made you giggle away your frown. He had a fun performance, and I think he deserves some recognition, especially being that he played 2 characters. In all honesty, he was the funniest bit, and that was the only humor you needed in this film. You could have scrapped all the other soulless humor and just leave it with Jim Carrey because he delivered. He was the funniest fucking person in the whole movie. Enough glazing. Let's plug Sonic 3 into my dog film rating guide. How this works is we start at 5 out of 10 and add or subtract a point for every positive and negative in the film. Anything notable can vary, with it either adding or subtracting only half a point. Starting with the positives, I'm adding a point for Keanu Reeves' performance alongside how well Shadow was delivered. It's more than good. It carries the movie and can make any emo boy smile with joy. He's the best part of the film. I'm adding another point for the action and visuals. There are so many sequences that are just enjoyable to watch, and the visuals are that impressive. I seriously think this is the best they did in the whole franchise, and I don't think they're going to top it because these are the coolest action moments I've seen in any video game movie. And finally, I'm adding a point for how well the creators catered this franchise, with their love really sticking out in this 3rd movie. We've come so far from Ugly Sonic that if you told me Shadow was going to be in the franchise, I would have laughed and nutted in disappointment all over the place. On to the notable points. I'm adding half a point because the music choices and some of the songs they played are just too good to go unnoticed. It really shows the love the creators have for the film, alongside the energy of the action sequences. I'm also adding half a point for Jim Carrey's performance. For every cliche scene that bogged the movie down, there was a Jim Carrey scene that made up for it. His performance for both characters was really enjoyable. For the only negative, I'm taking away a point for the cliche filler and plot armor this movie has, because it does have a lot of it. Just scenes that mess with the pacing and shouldn't be there, or just cliche humor that kind of ruins the story a little bit. With all this noted, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 achieved the 8 out of 10, earning an A, making it very, very good. Let me know what you think about my rating system, if I should change anything, and also let me know what you thought about Sonic 3. I really liked it, and I do encourage you to see this in theaters if you can. That's about all I have to say. See you.